You know, I'm going to give you a history lesson.
We got some dumbass motherfuckers floating around this country.
Stop laughing! And when I do, start.
Also, y'all did some nasty-ass jokes on my ass, too.
Funny jokes and unfunny jokes come out of the same birth.
You f***ing guys are unbelievable.
Why are you laughing?
Evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Why Are You Laughing? A History of Comedy podcast. And today, I am pleased to introduce to you Bill Burr, Let It Go. One of, I think, the first special of Bill Burr's that I saw. And Craig and I were just talking in the midst of one of the great runs in comedy history. This special came out because Craig was asking me, you said this is your favorite Bill Burr special.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
My favorite Bill Burr special, maybe my favorite special ever, is I'm Sorry You Feel That Way, the black and white Netflix one.
Yeah.
But it is, I think they're all kind of on par with each other. Let It Go, You People Are All the Same. I'm Sorry You Feel That Way. And what was the one before this that we just looked up?
Why Do I Do This?
Why Do I Do This? That's right. That's a run. And I was trying to think when you asked me, you said, has anyone had a run like that? 4 specials of that level of quality. Louis would be close. Hilarious, Shameless, and Chewed Up for sure. I'm not sure which one came right after that. But Louis would be close. Like, I'd put Mulaney in that echelon, honestly. But it's not, there's not a lot of guys, particularly in the last 25 years, in this century. I can't think of a lot of guys that have had a run like that, especially with the pace he was putting them out. It was every year and a half, 2 years or something like that at that time. So there's been a lot of talk about Bill Burr on this channel lately. Craig has tried to rile me up, saying this guy's not funny. And I said, let's remind everyone of a time where we all agreed he was funny. Because now it is getting to a point with Bill Burr where you hear people like, he was never funny. It's just ridiculous, obviously. So we're taking the time machine just to remind people what they might be forgetting. So we'll be talking about Let It Go today. And I want to remind you guys to go back through the archives if you before you recommend an episode, because sometimes people will say, hey, why don't you do Phil Hartman, or why don't you do Carl Reiner or Fred Willard, or these episodes that nobody watched, Jackie Gleason. I did them. You just didn't watch them. So go back through the archives and check out those episodes. And then feel free to recommend any future episodes that we may cover soon. And you can do that at blindmike.net. That's where all our links are. Wherever you get podcasts, all audio platforms, YouTube as well. Subscribe, become a member if you want to get early access and bonus content. Think about this. You could have had this episode. We're recording it in July. That's how early you could have had these episodes. If you're like, man, this was so good, I wish I had it 2 or 3 months ago. Right. Then you should be a member. You become a gearhead for as little as $5 a month. You get early access and bonus content. We're doing all kinds of fun stuff back there. So consider becoming a member, or just support the show for free wherever you get podcasts. We appreciate it. All links are at blindmike.net. Let's get right into it, because Bill Burr is a guy that people use, including my buddy Brendan Schaub will cite him when he's talking about his comedy career, and people are like, hey, listen, Bill Burr didn't get successful till he was 40. You know, Louis is in there a little bit, although people forget like what a successful writer Louis was. But it's like Louis, Bill Burr, and Rodney Dangerfield. People are like, hey, they could do it. Yeah. They did it when they were older, so that means I can do it. And it's like, well, you also have to be wildly talented and the voice of a generation. So
Right.
And this special, Let It Go, reminded me of a lot of things about Burr, particularly his style. Because again, now Bill has changed over the years, and now there's a certain reputation about his comedy, and people talk about his style and say it's just easy. When you go back and watch these specials, you really appreciate them for what they are, and that'll be my main focus today, because there are a lot of things I found interesting in rewatching. The main way I think I consumed this originally was probably on like Pandora or something, where I just put in, Louis C.K. radio or Bill Burr radio and just listen to these clips. So in my mind, it meshed together with like You People Are All the Same and other specials. So as a special, it was interesting for me to go back and watch it because there were some things I didn't quite realize about it or I forgot. And I'm echoing very badly.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. I think it's better now.
Okay.
We'll see. What a roll of the dice this will be. All right, let's just get into it and see if this clip works.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out here. Okay. All right. Okay, I didn't cure anything.
That, right there, like, he hasn't really even said anything yet. So you might be like, Mike, you're doing the thing where you play it and stop it immediately. But I think it's important because he hasn't made a joke yet, really. Like, he hasn't even really gotten out on stage. And he's already let you know exactly who he is. Like, that's the most interesting thing about that open to me when he says, I didn't cure anything. And he's like kind of annoyed that he's getting a standing ovation.
Yeah.
That tells you so much about his personality. It's similar to Louis coming out and just going, I don't really know how to start shows. There's no reason for me to be talking to you. Like, that tells you a lot about his personality just in the intro. And Bill Burr's first sentence tells you exactly who he is here.
Christ. Fucking Lifetime Achievement Award out here. I have been on the road for the last 5 months. I don't know, man. I just really thinking the worst of people. Really am. You see some of the animals. Some of the animals I see. Like, I was in the airport the other day, right? I'm sitting there waiting for my flight, just hating my life. And watching this lady. She's eating Egg McMuffins, like plural. It just threw like 3 of them. Right down her throat like a pelican, just like right down her gullet. And when she was done, she wiped her face with the bag. With the bag. Not even like a gentleman. Like, no, just do the corners. And she just got a straight razor shave. It's an absolute animal.
Like I said, coming out of the gate, you learn so much about his demeanor, his personality, his attitude. And he's extremely relatable. Like, it's rare a guy can come out this angry and hostile, and yet you side with him immediately. Like, I think one of the things Bill Burr is great at that a lot of people have taken over the years is coming out with a point that is hard to agree with. You know what I mean? Like a premise that might not be popular until he describes why he's speaking that way. But there's also, like, this bit, I think, is different in the sense that it's more of an everyman quality, where either you've been Bill Burr and you've been looking at someone being like, this is fucking disgusting while they do that, or you've been that person and you're like, I hope no one sees me wiping my face with the bag because I'm too lazy to get a napkin. So in a weird way, that point of view speaks to everybody.
Yeah. And then next we have one of his favorite topics, which is plagues and mass casualties.
Yeah, this is like a theme that he's had in all of his specials, is thinning the herd.
Dude, I am so pro swine flu. It's like ridiculous. I want it. We need a plague. I'm telling you, we need a plague. It's gotta happen. And don't be afraid. It's only gonna kill the weak. You know? Seriously, put on a sweater, take some vitamins. You're gonna be fine. You gotta let Mother Nature do her thing, man. She keeps trying to help us out, and we won't let her do it. Keeps trying to thin the herd every single time. We're like, oh, go down and get your vaccination. Why? Why? So Egg McMuffin lady can breathe with the back fat guy, you know?
So I guess you could say Carlin, I don't know if he has made that exact point, but has a general attitude like that. Mm-hmm. That, you know, life is not precious. It's actually worthless. Like, that's a very Carlin point of view. But I think the reason Bill Burr exploded the way he did, like, this special is 2010, which kind of coincides with him blowing up. I don't know the exact point, if it was this or You People Are All the Same, where he really took off in popularity, at least in comedy circles. But to me, the reason that Bill Burr's voice has changed more than anything else, like people will talk about his politics, people talk about his wife, they point to all kinds of reasons. To me, it's more that he's an older man now with this same perspective, but he's talking about points that feel dated, or it's tread upon ground, or it's things that other people have already gotten to. Whereas in this special, it's a lot of points that no one has really said yet. Maybe people were starting to think them, but when you hear Bill encapsulate them, you're like, fuck, yes, this is changing, and it's been bothering me, and I haven't really known why, or I haven't been able to articulate it. And he put it in the perfect words. And just the idea of talking about, like, we need a plague or something like that. Like, that wasn't really done a lot in comedy. So he had these ideas that weren't commonplace. And even a thing like, I don't know how many clips we had. He doesn't do it a ton in this special, but just talking about like bankers and things like that. Now that's very common, you know, like people will talk about Luigi and all this stuff and cheer him on Twitter. But Bill was doing it at a time where like maybe, you know, nut job conspiracy theorists were talking like that. Or, you know, if you lived way out in the woods, your grandfather talked like that. But people in regular society weren't talking the way Bill was. And I think it scratched an itch for a lot of people where it really was like, hey, this guy's saying things that I've thought before, you know?
Yeah, like this next bit, I think, is one of the more famous ones, and it's motherhood.
So this might be the bit. Again, I think You People Are All the Same might have had more of an impact because it was the first one on Netflix, I believe. Yeah. But this bit is the first one I started hearing a lot of people recite and talk about. So he's talking about his girlfriend watching Oprah, and he can't help but interject to a lot of her points.
No, we were watching it the other day, you know, Oprah's
girlfriend, I'm sorry.
Reviewing some clam, you know. And she's giving her this big, ridiculous intro. Like, she's done this, she's done that, she's done this, and she does the most difficult job on the planet. She's the mother. It continues on immediately. I just look at my girlfriend like, you know, like, really? Being a mother is the most difficult job on the planet? Oh, yeah, all those mothers who die every year from black lung, from inhaling all that coal dust. Dude, women are just constantly patting themselves on the back about how difficult their lives are, and no one corrects them because they want to fuck them. That's what it is.
This is what I was talking about earlier, like the idea that, like, just the premise of like mothers are overrated. You on the surface, you would feel like would not get a positive reaction, but when you hear him break it down, it's so relatable. And the fact that he's just bluntly saying women will do anything to pat themselves on the back. There were people that were like, yeah, it's ridiculous, right? Like, coal mining is much more difficult.
Tornado of like misinformation. I had the most difficult job on the planet. What would you rather be doing? Drilling to the center of the earth, shaking hands with the devil. Every time there's a rumble in the ground, you wait for the whole thing to collapse down on top of you so they can write that folk song about you. You know?
I think that might be something he's lost over the years too. His turns of phrase were unprecedented. The idea, like drilling to the center of the earth, shaking hands with the devil. And we're about to hear another one. Like, just the way he speaks, maybe it's that you wouldn't expect it coming out of that fucking that angry Boston accent, but like he's so articulate and good with words, and he has phrases. And actually, I think if you grow up in this area, you live in this area long enough, you realize that's how a lot of people talk that are very funny. It's really, they might sound like fucking morons with that accent, but then they say one of the most brilliant things you've ever heard, and you're like, where did that come from? Right?
Song about you, you know? Would you rather be up in the sunshine, running around with a couple of toddlers that you can send to bed anytime you want on some sort of trumped up charges, right? Because you want to have a drink and watch The Price is Right, you know what I mean? I couldn't believe it. It's the most difficult job on the planet. Oh, yeah. I thought roofing in the middle of July is a redhead. But But these mothers are bending over at the waist, putting DVDs into DVD players. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they do it.
You'll hear me use that phrase. If you pay attention, you'll have heard me use that phrase a lot over the years on various podcasts. If something's difficult, I'm like, well, it's not roofing in July. I completely stole that from Bill Burr because I think it's such a perfect visual. The idea of standing on a roof in 90-degree weather.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, yeah, no, obviously motherhood is not more difficult than that in the moment anyways, you know, maybe as a concept, but
yeah. I like that he adds as a redhead.
As a redhead, yeah.
Which is very funny. I think
and it does add to it, oddly.
Yeah. I think there's two bits, the pumpkin one that we'll get to, and this one that just blew him up. I remember he got that first one on Netflix, but all of his specials went on.
Yeah. And there are a few guys. Louis was a little before this. But Burr, Mulaney, Hannibal Buress, Tom Segura, those guys to me, and maybe this is my own selfish life that I'm thinking of. Like maybe it had an effect on me, so I kind of apply it to everybody. But I do believe, oddly, like Pandora was big at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people found comics through that. Like, I do think that helped a lot. Like, or if it was Spotify or whatever it was, like those outlets, even YouTube, like people were finding these bits. Like Bill Burr, I think it might have been more Opie and Anthony. Like he already had this base audience. They saw the Philly rant and that kind of stuff. But there were a lot of comedians that blew up through Pandora in other ways that we've kind of glossed over and forgotten about in the grand scheme of comedy. Because now we're like, oh yeah. You know, for that 5-year run, guys like Burr and Segura, they had a Netflix special and it blew them up. But I think there are a lot of like core people that they picked up along the way from things like Pandora that don't get enough credit.
I almost just was going to be like, oh, and this next one's great, but I'm going to say that before every clip on this, so I'm going to cut myself off now.
They're all there's a lot of classic bits, and there's one thing I want to point out too is that I found interesting. This is what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, where I think if you just asked someone without really thinking, how many different premises are in the special Let It Go? You're talking to someone that's seen it 1,000 times, and you're like, how many premises are? And they'd go, you know, I don't know, 10 or 12. It's really like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
basic premises, but he just gets so much out of each one. Like I can't think of other specials like that. Maybe I'm just not digging deep enough in my memory. So if you guys think of any that fit that mold, leave it in the comments. But it was amazing to me going back and watching this, that like he basically had 4 or 5 ideas and was able to carve an hour out of that. And it's so incredibly tight. Like if I were to describe that to you, you'd think like, oh, so he basically has nothing for 20 minutes. But no, like there's not a minute of it that gets boring, really.
Like each topic, if a tree, if you will, has many roots.
Yes.
Next we have oddly racist, which is just so funny.
And that's another classic joke. And there are things in here too. I mean, I guess I said it already, but it's like, how have I never thought of that? Or maybe I knew it subconsciously, but I've never been able to say it. And this is one of those.
I was having lunch with this girl the other day, right in the middle of lunch. She looked across the table from me and she goes, this is going to seem oddly racist. And I was like, all right, this is going to be awesome. 41 years old, never heard a conversation started this way. Let's have it, baby. Let's hear what you got. She's just like, there are a lot of Asians in this restaurant. I'm like, that's not racist. Well, that's an observation. There are a lot of Asians in this restaurant. However, if you were to say, what the fuck are all these fucking Asians doing in this goddamn restaurant? Now that would seem oddly racist. But you still haven't said anything bad about Asians, but you definitely seem to have a problem with them being in the restaurant, which is odd. That's odd because I've never heard any bad stereotypes about Asians in restaurants. You know what I mean? Like, dude, they come in, they're taking up all the tables, you know? Being Asian.
And this is what I'm talking about when I say like cutting edge, and he was at the forefront of a lot of these thoughts. Like
Yeah.
we were about to enter a time. This is 2010. We were entering a time where people became so nervous about every little thing. And it became not a joke anymore, but a reality to go like, there's a black guy in front of me in line, and someone would go, "Whoa, what do you got to get racist for?"
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you talking about? I just pointed out the guy's right. Like Bill did this bit at a time where it hadn't been done to death. And I think what happens with a lot of guys when they get famous, I think the best example is Chris Rock's live special, the live special that he did for Netflix, where he's like, and this is what, 2023 he put that out, something like that.
Yeah.
And one of the early bits in that special is Chris Rock being like, it seems like he can't say anything anymore. And it's like, what? That's so dated that we're almost over it. We're almost on the other side of cancel culture. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that was his like Jerry Seinfeld in 2013 talking about texting.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Whereas Bill was like at the forefront of a lot of this stuff where he was talking about it right before it was about to erupt into something we never could have imagined.
And that segues right into the racist phrasing.
Yeah, so this is what I'm talking about with like, you're like, oh shit, that's a good point. And now this is, you mentioned Jerry Seinfeld. This is Seinfeldian. Like Bill, personality-wise, Bill is much more brash and abrasive than Seinfeld. But this is a Seinfeldian breakdown of language. Why can you say something this way, but you can't say it this way? But I think Bill does it in a much, I think there's much more to it. Where sometimes Seinfeld would dissect words, and I'm like, yeah, but what's really the second level there? Like, that's kind of one of my issues with Seinfeld.
It wouldn't
Whereas
be
Burr,
that was the problem.
What's that?
I said there wouldn't be a second level. That was always Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly. At least that's how I felt about old Jerry. But with Bill, there's actually, he's saying something while doing kind of a silly breakdown of language.
I find a lot of that racial stuff like fascinating. You know, like the different rules of like who gets in trouble, who doesn't. Like I've noticed black people have the genius to put the curse word after they say the race of the person, where white dudes, we always put it in front. And if we would just make that little adjustment, we could save so many careers, so many jobs could be saved in the white community if we would just put it after. You never notice that in conversation? You hear a black guy being like, man, I was standing there, this Asian motherfucker came in, he starts talking about, you don't even hear it. You're just sitting there, oh, what did this Asian motherfucker do? I would love to hear the rest of this story, right? Dude, I would tell the exact same story, right? I'm standing there, right? This fucking Asian comes in, right? Everybody's all like, whoa, hey, easy, Jesus. You know? I just preempted the fuck. That's all I did. He suggested he's hooking up with people's mothers. I'm not even doing that. It's just a quick, I got it out of the way.
What year is it? But so that's what I'm talking. Where like when you hear Bill do that, when you hear him do the black guy where he's like this Asian motherfucker, and then he does him, this fucking Asian, you're like, oh wow, like it's almost like you're like, oh shit, I didn't. He's absolutely right. Seinfeld would do stuff like that, but you're like, oh, it's just kind of a coincidence in the language, you know? There's really nothing there. Whereas he manages to make actual social commentary out of this kind of obscure observation.
I would love to hear, oh, stand there. This fucking Asian comes in.
Now, why can't I say that?
Oh, we gotta get Hackride to make just turn this whole set into AI Seinfeld voice.
Yes.
Next we have self-serve.
So this was another one that really stood out to me. I know Craig is right. Every bit on here we could be like, this is another classic one. But I think it's actually important rather than redundant, because it shows you how many like classic bits that people will recite to this day are on some of these specials. Eventually we'll do all four, but it's amazing to me the amount of bits on here, because even in maybe it's because I didn't grow up in this generation, so maybe I'm using a bad example, But like, I feel like even in Delirious and Raw, like these Eddie Murphy specials that people talked about for generations, there's some parts where you can go like, but that bit I didn't love, like that bit I didn't really give a shit about, whatever. Or they weren't quoted constantly. Again, maybe that's because I grew up in the 90s and 2000s rather than the 80s. But to me, it does feel like even some of the greatest specials of all time don't have this many quotable bits that resonated with people.
I don't think there's a single bit in this special that you can't go like like feel it,
Yeah.
You know what I like? You know what I hate about these corporate chains? You go in there, you're paying for a business. They make you like do half the job now. I don't get it. Like I walk in, hey, let me get a turkey sandwich, lettuce, tomato on rye with mayonnaise. The guy behind the counter's like, all right, turkey sandwich, lettuce, tomato on rye. Yeah, and mayonnaise. Oh, the mayonnaise is it's right over there. Really? Why don't you fucking go over there? Put it on the sandwich. You get it? I'm on this side of the register. Guy who orders the sandwich, guy who fucking makes the sandwich. You get it? I'm sorry they fired the mayonnaise guy, but I'm not doing it. I just gave you 100% of the money to make 100% of the sandwich. This isn't like a relay race. You make half the sandwich, then you hand it off to me. I run over, I throw a pickle on it, frisbee it over to my mom. She sticks an olive with a toothpick in it. Do you recognize me? It's because I don't fucking work here. All right? Make the
sandwich. This conversation that we're about to get into with like the self-service stuff, it reminds me of Hicks a little bit. Like I personally find like peak Burr a lot funnier than Bill Hicks. But it reminds me of Hicks in the sense that like he was right on the cusp of things. Like Hicks literally died ahead of his time with a lot of the material he had because society hadn't even caught up to the way he was thinking. And Burr, unlike Bill Hicks, had the benefit of coming up in the internet era where people could just find this on YouTube later. Because in like 2010, a lot of small towns in America probably don't even really relate to what he's talking about yet. Where they're like, what, the self-service, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, what do you like? Particularly the like the grocery store thing that we're about to get into. Like, there were a lot of towns in America in 2010 that probably didn't even quite relate to the topic he was talking about yet. So when I say like cutting edge, if he does this bit 5 years later, we're all like, oh, Bill, we've already adapted to that. Like now you're complaining about something we already kind of have accepted. But he was doing it at a time where everyone was like, yes, the stores around me are changing, and I don't like it either, Bill. But I've never been able to verbalize it.
Next to personal data.
Yeah, so this is one of my favorites, and I think of it every time you go into any store now. Like I said, he was right on the cusp of this.
Every single time.
It was happening here and there. Maybe it's CVS or whatever, but it was somewhat rare back then. And now you think of it at every store you go to where they want all your information.
No, you know what I like was when you go into these places, right? Even when they're getting your money, like that's not enough for them. They want to suck like more information out of you. When I bought toiletries the other day, they asked me for like my phone number. I'm ringing it up. They go, can we have your phone number? No. No. Siri, we're not going to do anything with this. Really? You're just collecting numbers just for the fuck of it, you idiot? No, you can't have my phone number. Then they get like all freaked out, right? Well, sir, I have to put something in. If I don't input something in, I can't get to the next. What do I do? Well, fucking lean on the keyboard, sweetheart. I don't know what to do. Stick your finger on the one. There you go. That's my phone number. 1-5-9. That's it. Live in area code 123. Very exclusive neighborhood. Oh, it's the worst. You have our little savey save fucky fuck card? No, I don't. Would you like one? No, I wouldn't. Well, why not? Because you're up to something. I don't know what you're up to, but I know you don't want to make less money, all right? Stop fucking with me. Just bring this up and let me get on with my life.
I know you don't want to make less money.
So I think what separates him from a guy like Hicks, as I listen to that, is Hicks, when they said, well, why? Why don't you want to give us your information? Hicks would have had an actual answer, and he probably would have been right. which almost is like draining when a guy has all the answer. You're like, Jesus Christ, he's just going on one of his rants again, you know?
Yeah.
But I think that's because Hicks was very smart. What makes Burr more relatable than a guy like Hicks is that line, I don't know, but you're up to something.
It's the skepticism.
I don't know, but I know you're up to something. He has that Bill Hicks skepticism, but doesn't pretend to have the answers, which is why I think he hit with a lot more people than a guy like Hicks. Is he didn't feel like he was, Mr. Know-It-All. He didn't feel like he was preaching to you about things. He's like, I don't know, but something's going on. And many more people can relate to that than a rant about why the government is monitoring all of us, even though Hicks would have been absolutely right, you know?
Yeah. And it's crazy too to think that Hicks died 9 years before Bill Burr is right now in this special. He was 32 when he died, right?
Or 9 years younger.
Yeah. What I say?
Yeah. No, I was just thinking he died like 16 years before this special. I think.
Yeah. I meant to say 9 years younger than Bill Burr is in this.
Okay.
Which is nuts. But this is the grocery store, another thing I think about all the time.
Yep, absolutely.
I don't know. You know what the worst things are? Those automated machines. You guys have those out here? Those automated checkout machines? You know, unbelievable. I couldn't believe it the first time I walked into a supermarket and I saw that. I was like, this is ridiculous. Here it is. I thought I was a comedian. Evidently, I also work at a grocery store. Holy shit, I can't believe I forgot my apron. God damn it, was I working tonight? I should have checked the schedule. Dude, do you realize the balls of that? The balls of that. Yeah, I'm gonna have a store. You come in, you pick out what you want, you bring it up, you ring it up, you pay me, you put it in a bag, and then you get the fuck out of my store. Those people, step it up. I'm trying to run a business here. Dude, if that is the future, if there's gonna be no employees at a grocery store, I'm never paying for food again. I'll be hooking up my friends, like rolling hams out the front door. I want to steal now. I just don't have the nerve. I just want to fill up a whole grocery cart full of food, right? Just walk up to one of those automated machines. You count 5 Mississippi. Guess they don't want to get paid. They just start walking out.
And here's what's so hard about writing bits like this now, and what like he really threaded the needle here, because now, particularly 15 years later, we live in a time where technology is moving so fast. If he did this bit now, say, it would sound ancient. You know what I mean? It would sound like, Bill, we've not only are people using automatic checkout, like we don't even go to stores anymore. Like, what are you talking about?
But he'd be okay with that because they're shopping and bringing it to him.
Right. But that's why I feel maybe some of his comedy now seems dated. So because when you're writing material like this, it's so hard to keep up with the times and sound relevant. Like this, again, like I said, it's right on the precipice of this being everywhere. And if he missed it by a couple years, it would feel old. Like that's what's difficult about writing about technology and just our everyday lives now, because things move so fast. So, you know, when he was younger, he was able to hit the timing was perfect because he did have his finger on the pulse a little more. And also probably not being massively rich and successful also would help, I think.
Yeah, but the grocery, I still think this one's perfect because if you go to a grocery store now, there'll be like 10 lanes.
Think about it all the time. Yep.
10 lanes open and only one of them has a human running it. The rest are all self-checkout. It's really fucking annoying.
Yeah. And then at that time you're like, oh, right. He's right. Maybe we can stop it. And then it just, no one did anything about it.
In fact, it got worse since this.
Yeah.
Next we have customer service.
Yeah. And this is where like, I know we keep saying we think of this all the time. It's literally like helpful shit. Where he's describing, I give him credit. Maybe it was more out there than I realized because I was a young man at the time. But he's the first person I ever heard say they're trying to get you to curse at them so they can hang up on you. Like he's the first person I ever realized. He basically coached a generation of people through dealing with customer service, as we're about to hear.
And the whole time, all they're doing is trying to get you to curse so you hang up. No, so they can hang up on you. That's all they're doing. They're trying to get you to curse so so they can just hang up on you, you know? So So they gradually, but if you don't curse, they can't hang up on you. You can just keep torturing them. Well, why is that? You just keep it going around and around. So then what they do is then they try to suddenly make it your fault. Well, sir, did you know your plane was going to be late? Well, why didn't you call ahead? Well, I didn't call ahead because I was on a fucking airplane. Sir, I don't need to listen to that. Click. Fuck! Right? Then you got to start all over again. Do you know how many times a week people say to me, why are you yelling?
I've always thought that should be I always thought that should have been the name of the special. Why are you
100%.
yelling? As opposed to Let It Go.
Definitely.
This right here is not yelling to me. It's just, I'm passionate about my opinions and I want you to hear all of them before you get to talk again. That's basically it. It's not anger.
Yeah, and that as much as he sounds like Carlin, Hicks, maybe you can say a little bit of Kinison in there. There's not really anyone in comedy history that sounded and had the material of Bill Burr. There's not a direct, clearly he's a descendant of this guy. He's got plenty of, sprinklings of various people, but he is an original in how he presents himself. There's not a specific box you could put him in. And since him, there's a lot of people that, try to do a version of Bill Burr. But there's also little things he doesn't get enough credit for. I think his act outs are amazing, which we'll talk about later. But even just his little, he encapsulated a personality just in that noise that we heard, where he goes, well, why is that? And the customer service person goes, yeah. He just makes a noise and is able to and that is a skill. Not a lot of people are able to do that and tell you exactly who they're talking about.
Well, one box you could probably put him in is the angry guy.
Yes, for sure, as he's represented. And a theme throughout all of these specials, I think, is that he's trying to change and better himself.
I'm halfway through my life at this age, and I've been an angry son of a bitch, and I got to turn this around, man. I'm embarrassed with I don't want to be that guy. You die as the angry guy. That's the worst dude to die as, because then people got to try to think of happy shit to say about you at your funeral. They're just sitting there he always paid his bills on time. You got to give him that. Yeah, you gave this guy a bill. He paid it. This guy was a bill-paying son of a bitch. Ironed his shirts. I got nothing. I don't know what else to say about the guy. He's just...
Just the idea that he always paid his bills on time, I think is such a funny go-to. And it is. There's also a theme throughout these specials, I feel, where you kind of grew up with Bill Burr. You watched his life progress. Whereas one special, he's someday I'd like to have a kid. And the next one, he's I have a kid. Someday I'd like to get married. The next one, he's I got married. So he talks about all these things as his life was progressing, which was really interesting to hear him at all these different stages, just within a few years.
Yeah. And and the one through line was he hates his wife, girlfriend.
He just hates everything. Yeah.
And now he likes her and hates everything else.
Which is it, but I don't think enough people appreciate that. And I think it's the reason I defended this last special and a lot of people didn't like it, is because I found it interesting to watch that progression where he was kind of always trying to get to that. And that's where he is in life, which is interesting to me.
If you check the tape, I said that was the one part I really enjoyed.
Good for you.
I just want it out there. Next, we have suicide.
Yeah, so as a guy who's dealt with depression, there are real suicidal thoughts that a lot of people go through, and there's also moments like this that are again so relatable. Even with people that deal with real issues, there are also instances like this that Bill talks about that again not a lot of people have ever really pointed to.
I think it's a very normal thought to think about killing yourself, I do. It's weird? Anytime I think about killing myself, it's never over anything big. It's always little things. Little things make me want to take myself out. It's bizarre. If my girlfriend broke up with me, I'm not going to lie to you, I would be devastated. Devastated. I'd be laying on the ground, crying in the fetal position for 3 days. By the fourth day, I'd rub one out, start putting this back together. I know what I gotta do.
I mentioned earlier that like he'll start with a premise where the audience kind of pulls back a little bit, and a few sentences in, people are like applauding in agreement with him. Where he's like, he goes, I think killing yourself is a very normal thought, and you hear kind of like a okay, like it's like a where is he going with this? And then we're 2 sentences later, people are like, yes, Bill, you've done it.
He has to pause because they're all standing.
That I'm gonna get the 6-pack back. I know what I gotta do, right? But like, I thought about killing myself like a year ago on Thanksgiving. You know why it was? It was because I said I was gonna make a pie. That little statement made me think about taking myself out. This is how it worked. This is basically the deal, right? My girlfriend's an angel. She absolutely loves the holidays. So it was like 2 weeks before Thanksgiving. So she's all excited. She's like, oh my God, Thanksgiving's coming up. I'm sitting there trying to watch the game. Thanksgiving. What are you going to do for Thanksgiving, right? I started freaking out. Like, I didn't think I had to do anything for Thanksgiving, Just thought I had to, not get drunk and be belligerent around your friends. I thought I was fine. She's like, no, I'm going to make a turkey. I'm going to make stuffing. What are you going to do? So I panicked. I'm like, I'll fucking make a pie. I don't know how to make a pie. I was just trying to make it go away, You ever do that? You agree with them, thinking it'll make them leave. Like, yeah, awesome, what you said. High five, fuck off. And you go back to watching the game. Yeah. No, and it totally worked. It totally worked.
I gotta say something, too, that I'm kind of realizing. Like, I remember there was a time before he was accepted, like, in Hollywood and everything. There's a time where Bill Burr and other people like him were defined as like, oh, they have an angry male audience that hates women. Like, there was a time where people would describe Burr like that, like all the time. And I think that's incorrect in the sense that, like, I know a lot of women that would listen to this bit and find it very funny. You know what I mean? Whether it's like they get his point or even they're like, my boyfriend does that and I hate it, whatever it was, like there are a lot of women that relate to this in their own different ways that found it funny. Like, and I think that's the beauty of a lot of these comics that I love is you can try and paint them in a box, but if you go into it with an open mind, anyone from any walk of life is able to find that funny and relate to it in some way, whichever position you're in, the woman's perspective, the man's, somewhere in between.
Excited. She was like, she ran away all excited, and I totally forgot about it, right? 2 weeks later, Thanksgiving comes up, right? She just wakes up. She's like, oh my God, it's Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving. You're going to make that pie, right? You said you're going to make a pie. And I was like, fuck. I got to make a pie. I got to go to the grocery store. I got to buy some flour. Then I just started thinking, man, what if I just slam my head right through this plate glass window and just split out down the side of the house, I wouldn't have to make the pie. So it's not even like I'm suicidal. It's more like I'm like lazy. You know what I mean?
And there is, and I can speak to like the idea that there's genuine depression. Like sometimes you're in a real state of depression. And even in that, there are moments where you're like, is this like something that I'm not able to control? Or is it something I don't just feel like dealing with? And like, oddly, that's what Bill is talking. Like there is a deeper meaning to what Bill is talking about rather than just it being an issue of like, laziness versus actual thoughts. Like there are elements to, I think, everyone's depression that deal with that. Like if it's not truly psychosis that you're in, there is some aspect that you're contributing to. And that's what I think is so interesting about that bit.
It's all great. It just really is. Next, I think this is his most famous bit.
What did I title it?
The pumpkin carving.
Boy, that's tough to say.
I mean, pumpkin carving really doesn't describe what the bit is.
No, it does. I know what you're talking about. I would have thought the motherhood bit, but this could be it. And this is where I mentioned we're going to talk about act outs by the end of this as well. But yeah, this is. I do think it describes an era of men so perfectly in a way everyone can understand. And in a weird way, I think it helped people like, progress as a nation, honestly, this bit.
I don't think there's a guy, gay or straight, that doesn't relate to this.
Right, exactly, yeah.
This is all true. It took me 4 trips to go to the supermarket to finally be able to buy this goddamn pumpkin. Because every time I would walk in there to get it, I would be thinking all these happy thoughts. This is a great thing. I'm embracing the holidays. It's going to bring me and my girlfriend together. This is a very loving thing to do. And I reach out and grab it, and all I'd hear in the back of my head is, "What are you, a fag?" And immediately, I had to turn around and walk out.
We can say that on YouTube right now, right? We're in the cool era of YouTube. We don't have to bleep that.
We're pretty cool now.
Okay, cool. Nice.
All right, let me explain that joke to functional people in the crowd. Let me explain this. All right. This is how it works with guys. Anytime you do anything remotely sensitive, heartwarming, anything that's going to make you more of a loving, caring individual, immediately all your guy friends suggest that maybe, just maybe, you want to suck a dick. Oh, it's brutal. Even if you do something smart, right? Like it's raining out, he's got an umbrella. What a fag! Oh my God! What are you, afraid of the water? Put your shoulders up, you fucking homo. Jesus Christ. Would you pull that thing out of your ass? Oh, it's brutal. It doesn't even have to make sense. You carved a pumpkin? What do you do next? Carve some guy's ass with your cock? What a fag! Oh, scarecrow! Dude, get away from me with your gay little pumpkin. Oh, it's brutal. Dude, what are you, a fag? Is the reason why guys drop at 55 out of fucking nowhere. It's literally from 5 decades of just suppressing the urge to like hug a puppy, admit a baby's cute, say you want a cookie. You just gotta keep pushing it down like, fuck that, I'm not sucking dick. I'm not sucking dick.
That's what I'm talking about with the actor. When I saw this time, it reminded me of the helicopter bit that we always cite. Like, I'm not sucking dick. Like him trying. I'm not sucking dick. Is, I think, such a great actor.
He's just pushing it.
But, so to answer Craig's theory, I don't know if it's his most famous bit. I'd have to ruminate on that. But
Twitter, it gets brought up the most, I would say.
Oh, really? So,
like the way he is now, people will comment this and be like, "What happened to this guy?"
Oh, I guess. But I think it might be his most influential bit in the sense that you could take that bit, like Craig's friends on Twitter, and be like, "Yeah, he said the F word. That's cool." or you can hear it for what it is, because the bit before that, he's talking about he was at a restaurant and someone said, "Would you like a cookie with that?" And he's like, "What the fuck?" And he's like, the worst part of it is I wanted a cookie.
Yeah.
And I really think it empowered a generation of guys, because every or most guys, either you were the guy in your group that would say that, or you were the guy getting called that. One or the other, you know? And I think it empowered a generation of guys to be like, shut the fuck up. I want a cookie. What's wrong with you? Yeah. I want to carve a pumpkin. So, I'm a gay now because I want to carve a pumpkin. Like, I do really think it helped society. And I don't think I'm putting too much emphasis on that. And that's where people that criticize jokes don't understand the value of them, because, like I said, you could look at that bit as anti-gay in some way. You could cite that he uses a slur and call him a very nasty boy and try to take things away from him. But if you look at the bit, it actually moves society forward and takes away the stigma of being called gay. It's not that big a deal when you hear it put in those terms.
He does say that word again in his new special. I was surprised.
He
by
sure
that.
does. That's when Craig and his bros high-fived on Twitter.
That's when I went.
That part was cool.
This isn't as bad as I thought.
Yeah.
This one's great too. Duracell batteries.
I always was. I love this because I was like, I thought I was the only one that saw this commercial. I know what commercial he's talking about, and I was like, that is weird.
Yeah.
I think they're getting ready to like microchip all of us. I'm not even joking, dude. Have you seen that new Duracell commercial where that woman can't find her kid in the park? You know, dude, what kind of a fucked up way is that to sell batteries? It's a little hardcore, don't you think? Don't you remember the old battery commercials? They show some guy in a rainstorm, right? changing a tire, takes out a flashlight. Hey, thank God it turns out. I can see how wet I'm getting. That was it. Now it's showing this woman she can't find her kid in the park. She's sitting there like, Kevin? Kevin? Has anybody seen Kevin? Sitting there freaking out, then she pulls out this device. And then all of a sudden, Kevin comes running out of the woods. And they're just like, Duracell batteries. It's like, dude, fuck the batteries. What was that thing she just took out of her pocket? How did Kevin know to come out of the woods? He didn't have an antenna. His sneakers weren't glowing. What the fuck is in Kevin that is connected to that? Dude, don't just show me that like that's normal. Oh, yeah, remote control kids. Let's go see mommy. Dude, that is some creepy New World Order shit.
You used a good word earlier, skepticism. And Burr was like a guy who became mainstream that was skeptical of things and questioned things that people could relate to. And now, just like with the internet that we live in, just like, you know, people diving deep into subreddits or YouTube videos or whatever, all kinds of different conspiracies or whatever they might be. With people going that deep into what were before like fringe issues, these ideas by Bill Burr don't seem as like cutting edge. They don't seem as interesting to a lot of people. And I think that's why you hear a guy age over time, because there's only so many points you can make that you're one of the first to make them. Because I remember, I haven't listened to Bill Burr's podcast in a long time, but I used to listen pretty consistently. And towards the end of my run listening, I remember specifically him bitching about like trying to get the NHL package on his TV or something like that. And it didn't make it. This is not a thing that like made me stop listening or I was like, fuck you. But I do remember having the thought of kind of like, this is like a fixable problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a bad.
Like, yeah. Whereas like 6 years earlier, it was a thing where it's like, oh, I had that problem and I have no one to talk to about it, you know? But as time goes on, it's like, oh, well, we've all figured out how to navigate technology and all these things you're bitching about. Or like with the Duracell batteries commercial, it's like, oh, yeah, we heard, other people on this political podcast I listened to make a similar point 3 years ago, you know?
Right.
That's the problem he faces now. But again, in 2010, he was a voice in the wilderness saying this stuff.
Yeah. I'm going to stop myself. Next, we have Rescue Dog.
Boy, another classic bit. Is that what you're going to say?
This special is just home run after home run.
But this is too where you start watching his life progress. Like this is at a point where he talks about getting a dog, and a later special he has to talk about getting rid of the dog. Like it all, you're watching him grow as a person over time, which not a lot of guys do, at least not in sequential order like this. Like that's a pretty rare thing in stand-up.
Oh, I know.
I did not want to get a rescue dog. I did not want to do that. My girl was all about it. She's like, we should rescue a dog. You want to rescue a dog? I'm like, no, I don't. She's like, why not? I go, because I think a lot of the dogs down the pound might be a little fucked in the head. You ever thought about that? Dude, the shelter is not a pet store. That is like Shawshank for a golden retriever. Why don't we just go down to the prison and rescue an inmate? Just roll the dice that maybe the guy was wrongly convicted? Fuck that. I want a brand new 2009 Bulldog, all right? I don't want some 1995 half a Labrador with part of its ear chewed off, you know? I got to put together its backstory. Every time I go to use the toaster, it starts freaking out. From the ceiling fan every time the Jets didn't cover the over, you know?
That everyman thing, like the way he talks, the idea of hanging the dog from a ceiling fan when the Jets didn't cover the over. There's something about specific, like the fact that he said the Jets.
Yeah.
It's so specific. I can't describe to you why that's funny, but for some reason, saying the Jets is so much funnier than saying like when your team doesn't cover the over or something, you know?
You just pray for Montante's dog.
Well, no. but yeah, it's the part of that bit too that we didn't play like earlier. This is what I'm talking about, where like he spends like 20 minutes on rescue dogs. And that seems exhausting, but he managed to have all different variations of jokes. It starts with him saying that, like, you're just getting a free dog.
I got
You're
one.
not a hero. You didn't run into a burning building.
Yeah.
So like he has these different levels. You know, it might be 20 minutes on rescue dogs, but it's all these different things that you hear. Like it's the observation that it's a free dog. Like again, a little Seinfeldy, like you're just playing with language. And then it gets into this much deeper thing where now he has to bond with the dog and prove that he's the owner and all this stuff. Like, so it even the bits progress in nature.
Yeah, this is crazy dog.
Yeah, so this is something he hopes to avoid.
What if I accidentally get one of those crazy dogs? I get up at 2 a.m. to take a leak, and that is the exact moment its previous owner used to come home shit-faced, beat the crap out of the dog. I have no idea what I'm setting off. I'm sitting there shuffling along in my slippers, in my robe. Meanwhile, the dog's getting all amped up. Like, fuck this shit, man. I promised myself I wouldn't let this happen again. Time to man up. Let's do this on 3. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Go flying at me. I'm going to be laying in the ground in a pool of my own blood. What are they going to do with the dog? They take him right back down to the pound like some sort of repeat offender. You're going to see him on the news in like shackles, like shuffling along. We knew you'd be back there. Get me a milk bone. Go fuck yourself. You're going to wheel him in like Hannibal Lecter with that lampshade around him.
There's two ways he talks about rescue dogs that, again, had never really been done. And I feel like it's done a lot now. Where he compares them both to like women in abused relationships, where he's like, a dog that shakes when you go to use the toaster or something. Yeah. Or as like comparing them to prisoners. And that's such a funny way to present his point. Like the idea that the dog might be dangerous or might be a little fucked up. Like he uses those two things that we all now completely understand what he's talking about. Like if he's like, oh, I'm worried the dog's going to be crazy. That might not why would you think that? And he uses these things that are now very common comparisons to get that point across.
Next we have Pitbull.
Yeah. So his, I was trying to think, what is his dog's name? God damn it. I couldn't
Cleo.
remember. Cleo. Yes. Rest in peace, Cleo. He's talking about his beloved Pitbull here. So he was on the road when Nia got this dog.
Adorable and all this type of. Oh, this is the worst part. I wasn't getting home for 3 days, and she's all wrapped up in this dog,
The part that we don't have is when he saw the dog for the first time. And he talks how it looks like a roided out juice head, just like pumping iron behind Nia. And
so, well, we're getting there a little bit.
I'm like, I don't get home for 3 days. What happens when I get home on Monday and you have to go to work? She goes, well, I just figured I'd drive to work and you could just come home to the apartment and meet the dog that way. I'm like, are you out of your mind? I'm not coming home to that. That dog is bonding with you. It thinks you guys live there. I'm going to come walking in and have my cap ripped off because I'm trying to show my name on the phone bill? No.
It's such hilarious imagery. The idea that the dog is locked into his calf and he's got a letter that he's showing him.
He showed him an Eversource letter.
It's such perfect imagery. It's such the way like Boston guys talk, but it's also like such a smart way to paint a picture as well.
Yep.
And like the valid concerns, like it's oddly cerebral the way he's worried. Like it's actually profound the way he's saying, no, the dog is going to bond with you for a few days and then be worried that I'm an intruder. It's actually like a smart thought on top of this just brazen complaint that he has.
Next we have bonding.
Yeah. So he ends up actually liking the dog.
So we got it for a week. We got it for a week and then we make our decision. So I just shut down emotionally. I was like, fuck this dog. First 2 days, I didn't give a shit. Dog sitting there looking at me, and I was just like, Jesus Christ. Like, Then on Wednesday, I don't know what happened. I started to like it a little bit, I was watching TV, I always talk to myself. I'm always home alone. I feel like a maniac. I finally had somebody to bounce my ideas off. It's kind of nice.
Oh, I think that cut off a little earlier, but there's also a point where he's like, this is what I thought you were talking about, where he's like, how do you get your muscles like that? How do you get your abs like that? Or whatever he says to the dog.
Yeah,
Which I think is very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, because he said the way he found out was like through FaceTime or Skype or whatever the hell was
Yes.
back
Yeah,
then.
yeah.
He just saw this dog that was just jacked, and he was like, "What the?" But this is his closer.
Yeah, so this is weird where it's such a classic special. I mean, every clip we set up, we're like, this is a good one. And I'm noticing this with, I think, every special we've reviewed, maybe.
Let me guess.
What?
Are you speaking specific to Burr or all the specials we've watched?
I was going to say, like, all the specials we've watched, really.
That they have weak closers?
Not even necessarily weak, but it's nowhere close to the best bit on the special. It's like it's almost just a misdirect that people are like, well, obviously your closer is your strongest bit. Like that's a phrase used all the time. Hey, you should make that your closer.
Right.
I can't think of a special we've watched where we're like, all right, buckle up. The closer is the best bit on the entire thing.
Yeah.
But he's talking about aging here. And just basically a man coming to grips with getting older.
Get up! Get it out! Back to me. Then what happens? What happens? You stay in the relationship. You stay in the relationship, right? You get married. 15 years later, you got a couple of kids. You got a little gut going, right? She starts in on you with that whole laundry list of stuff you got to do because you're married. Susie has ballet practice. It gets over it too. Make sure you're there too. You were there too the other day, and she's very upset. No, you were. I actually documented the record on my Facebook page, and you want to give her an uppercut. No, it's a natural thought. But you don't. You never lead with an uppercut. You set it up with a jab. You get inside. You come right up through the cleavage. You rock that head back. You send it right across the linoleum. Take that dirty pistol out. You lay it next to him. Wipe off the door handle. I'm fucking with you. No, you don't do that. No, you don't. You never hit a woman. You should never hit a woman. You're going to get caught. You're going to go to jail. You're going to get raped. It's awful. You don't do that, right? But what do you do now? What are you going to do now, right? You're married, right? You can't yell because your kids are there. You can't go for a drive. You don't have a cool car anymore. You got like some caravan with those sticky children of the corn handprints all over the windshield. So what do? You go down in the basement. You just do like that whisper yelling. And then I think just one day you're just too old. You're just too old. You're tired. You've been married like 60 years. Your body's breaking down. You blew your knee out at the Y playing pickup ball like 30 years earlier in the 50 and older league, you know? And you just want to watch the game. And she comes in that one last time, right? Just to annoy you. Just picking on you. You always mean to my mother, and I always resented you for her. Why couldn't you be more like your brother, right? And you start thinking, you know what, fuck this, I'm not listening to this, right? And you go to get up. And that's when it hits you. That the day before was the last day you had the quad strength to get up and out of your favorite chair. And that's when the panic sets in. You're like, oh shit. Dude, I can't get up. Oh my God. I gotta listen to this for the rest of my life.
Can you, for the audio listeners, can you describe that act out?
So this was a callback, and I actually forgot about it. So this was actually a really good closer.
Yeah.
He talks about old guy face when you see them and stuff. So he's explaining, this is the bit where he explains how that face forms. So he made the face like he was shocked and like panic, permanent panic face that old guys have.
Oh, that's what it is. That's what it is. No, a lot of people don't realize those old guys are actually trying to escape. That's what they're doing. Like, is she looking? Am I gonna make it? Avenge me! Listen, I'm out of time. You guys were awesome. Thank you so much for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
And again, I certainly didn't say bad closer, but like of all the bits we watched, like I don't put that as one of the classics. And I feel that way for a lot of I think all the specials. I can't think of one special we've watched and broken down here where I'm like, all right, here's the best bit on the entire album or special, and then we're done. You know, it never happens. But there's this misconception that you're like, oh, save your best bit for your closer. But I don't think that's a reality in comedy. It doesn't seem. I don't know why that's just dawning on me after watching all these specials. But
yeah, that's. I don't think that's ever happened in any of the ones we've played.
no, not that I can think of. But yeah, an amazing special, top to bottom. Like I said, so incredibly tight, and it's amazing the run he went on of 4 specials in a row being perfect. I never I think Walk Your Way Out is where where there was like definitely a decline, but my thought on that was always like, I'll give him a couple mulligans because he was so fucking solid back to back to back to back. It really was impressive the run he went on. So shout out to Bill Burr. Just wanted to refresh everyone's memory. Respect the name. Remember where you came from, son. You know.
Yeah,
looking at you, Craig.
The star ratings on those 4 are 8.3, 8.3, 8.2, 8.2.
And that is probably with some early bias against him now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So yeah.
It's just great stuff.
It sure was.
I don't think it's ever going to happen again, though.
4 in a row like that?
I guess
from him specifically, you mean?
Definitely from him. I guess Shane could. He's on that trajectory.
Yeah, but even like I wouldn't say Beautiful Dogs is better than Live in Austin.
I don't think the order's necessarily important. It's just that there's 4 awesome ones in a row.
To me, Joe List has that right. I don't think any one special is as good as any of Bill Burr's specials.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, he's had 4 in a row, or at least 3 in a row, that are fantastic. I don't put it at the same level, but I think Joe List is on that page. And shout out, by the way, this is months after it comes out, but kind of a throwback to this angry Bill Burr is I Never Promised You a Rose Garden from Joe DeRosa, a teenage sensation. Joe DeRosa, Bill Burr's protege. It really was like this level of anger and interesting points that DeRosa was making in that special.
I watched it twice, and I like it, but I don't love it.
What'd you watch it a second time for?
Because I was like, the first time I didn't like sit and watch it. I was listening to it while I was driving.
All right. Well, this is 6 months ago, so there's no point in pontificating on it.
That's very true.
What is important is going to blindmike.net for all of our links. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, share. It helps more people find the program. We appreciate you guys doing that. And you can also go to verygoodshow.org. That's where Craig's stuff is, allegedly. By this time, who knows? It could be it can all be. Go to verygoodshow.org, walk in gingerly. You don't know where you're going to step on, and go, anyone home?
Yeah, the
anyone
door's
still here?
The door's not locked.
It'll be like when Walter White shows up at his old residence.
Yeah, you know? Exactly.
There's skateboarders in the pool. It's
graffiti in the hallway.
All right, do that. Support the show. We appreciate you guys. Thank you very much. And we'll talk to you next time on Why Are You Laughing?
Zip it up and zip it out.